What's up, everyone? It's your girl Monica, and I am back here with episode 2 of Good Grief. First, I want to say thank you to everybody who took time to like, share, or comment, or just give me an encouraging word about my first video. Let's get started, y'all. So, imagine this. I'm 9 years old at the time. Obviously, I told you I was 9 when my dad died. And it was me, my mom, and my sister. We were on my mom's bed playing cards because growing up, me and my siblings, we loved to play cards. And we were playing Pity Pat this day. Do y'all know how to play Pity Pat? Or y'all never heard of it? Anyways, we're playing Pity Pat on my mom's bed. And yes, we used to play for quarters. And anyways, y'all, I was sitting on my mom's bed. We just playing cards. And a voice spoke to me loud as day and was like, call your daddy. I promise, I've told this story a million times now. It's even on my YouTube, like the longer version. A voice told me to call my daddy. I hop up and I go call my grandma's house phone because my daddy was living there at the time. And y'all, when I called my grandma's house, my cousin basically was like, he ain't here. I'm like, girl, put my daddy on the phone. And long story short, my grandma hopped on the phone and she told me pretty much everything in a nutshell. Remember, I'm 9 years old at this time, but I'm a smart little girl. So my grandma said something along the lines of, yeah, he in the hospital. He got a brain aneurysm, might be cancer. Basically, all I heard was your daddy about to die. And at 9 years old, I knew what death was. I didn't have like a firm grasp on what it was, but I knew that when somebody died, they weren't gonna be here no more. So I was like crying. I was boohoo crying on the floor. I asked my mom, like, is my daddy gonna die? And so from that point on, they really tried to hide my dad's condition to me. I knew what was going on. Every day I would ask if he was gonna die. And then we went to Wilmington every single day to see my dad in the hospital. I will never forget those drives to Wilmington. I lived in Tabor City, North Carolina. So we went to see him, but the last day he was talking, I wasn't there because I was out at TGI Fridays with my friends for her birthday. Yeah, I have a really good memory. This is when people were trying to tell me like, oh, this happened or that happened. No, Dan, I got a great memory, babe. Anyways, back on track. So for like 2 weeks straight, this is how long it took for him to die, if I'm remembering correctly. So within that 2 weeks, we went to Wilmington every day to see him. He was pretty much brain dead, so he was already gone, but in my head, I was like, he gonna come back. And then one day, before he died, y'all, I was in the living room watching TV by myself. We had one of them big TVs with a little hump in the back. I'm in there watching TV, and I say, Lord, please let my daddy make it home before Christmas. Christmas is my favorite holiday. And all this was happening around Christmas time. I said, Lord, please let my daddy be home by Christmas. Y'all, that same voice that spoke to me and said, call your daddy, said, your daddy gonna be home by Christmas. Mind you, I'm a little 9-year-old girl, so I run in my mom's room. I'm like, Mama, my daddy gonna be home by Christmas. Like, I'm so happy. She was like, what are you talking about? I couldn't explain it because even back then, I didn't know that voice was God. Like, I didn't know what it was. Y'all thought I was kind of going crazy. When I told this story, for years after that, now I realized that was probably the voice of God, just like, directing me, leading me, guiding me, type stuff. But anyways, that happened. And then I remember he died on December 17th. So we went to the hospital that day. Everybody was kind of gloomy because now I know that this is the day they were taking him off the ventilator. And I remember hearing one of my uncles, it was my Uncle Delton or my Uncle Clyde, they said 11:54, time of death. And I was like, so my daddy dead? And my sister took off and went in the elevator. I don't know. But it was at that moment that when my dad died, when I heard my uncle say 11:54, time of death. That is one thing that is engraved in my head. No matter how old I get, no matter how many years go by, I remember that because that is the moment. I didn't realize just how much this death was going to affect me. After that, I was missing my daddy a lot. That was my first Christmas without him. I remember feeling so sad and just so alone, even though my mom and them made sure I had a good Christmas. But I don't know. It's like everything after that was just kind of a blur. I blocked out a lot of things in my life during that time after I lost my dad. Died. Mind you, after my dad died, I really gave my mom a hard time. If you are an adult and you have children who have lost parents or whatever the case may be, if your child is acting out, you likely need to get them some therapy. I definitely probably needed therapy as a child. I was lashing out at my mom when she would date people. I was so mean. It's like looking back, I feel so bad now because I realized like my mama had to have a life too. What Jody mama say? Mama gotta have a life too. I understand that now as a grown woman, but as a child, I was so mad at my mom for dating. It's just like all the hurt and anger I felt from losing my dad, I was throwing that on my mom, and that is so unfair. But my mom was pretty sick when I was younger. She had sarcoidosis of the lung. I think that's how you say it. It's the same thing Bernie Mac had. And I remember Bernie Mac died, y'all. He had sarcoidosis of the lung, and I think he got pneumonia on top. when that happened, I really started preparing myself for my mom to die. I know this is crazy, but when my mom got sick and I realized how sick she was, like her lungs were really just kind of bad off. She would cough up blood all the time. Growing up, after I really watched my dad die over the 2-week span, I refused to watch my mom die. So the way I dealt with my mom being sick, I was always gone. Shout out to my friend's mom for always allowing me to be in their spaces, like Miss Liz, Miss Tootie, all of them. Like, I was always at my friends' houses. And I know people in my family would be like, you need to be with your mom. She's sick. I remember people saying, like, when your mom died, you're really going to regret it because you're not there. Y'all, looking back now, that is so crazy to say to a child. I didn't know how to watch my mom die after I had to watch my dad die. And I would say that, like, you've never had to sit and watch your dad pass away over a 2-week span right before your favorite holiday, Christmas. And then now you want me to sit around every day and just watch my mom dwindle away and die. I was not going to do that. Now, as an adult, I will say I wish that I had been around more when she was sick, just because I feel like she kind of experienced some of her last days pretty much alone, because me and my siblings were all pretty much doing our own thing at that time. Kind of blurry, y'all. But long story short, my mom was pretty sick, and I remember when she started getting really bad, and my mom's best friend, Miss Terry, passed away. And y'all, I promise you, I don't know what it was, but when Miss Terry died, I told myself, I was like, your mom's about to die. And I really prepared myself for her to die. One day, me and my mom, we were at the house by ourselves, and she was going to preach that night, I think, because my mom used to be a preacher, and then she started back. I don't really remember that. I just know that she used to preach. She preached this night, I think, at St. Stephen's, and it was only me and her in the house. And we were sitting on her bed while she was, writing out her sermon. And my mama looked at me, and she was like, Monica, when I die, I do not want you to cry. I was like, I ain't trying to hear that. Because, every time she would talk about dying, I would just brush it off like, I already lost my dad. I was like, there's no way God is going to take my mom, and I really don't have a dad. I was like, I know God ain't gonna do me like that. He did. No, that ain't funny. But she told me, she was like, when I die, I don't want you to cry. You gotta be strong. Like, and then she said, y'all, she was like, cause if you only knew where I was going, and the smile that was on her face in that moment, I knew that she was gonna die. Like, at this point, it wasn't a question of if she was gonna die. In my head, I just kept saying like, when. So I went to my friend's 8th grade graduation because I was in 9th grade at this time. And as I was leaving the graduation, it was like everybody was acting weird. And I remember Uncle Raymond rolled by. He was like, you heard about your mama? You need to call and check on her. And then 2 of my cousins walked up. And I remember the little one saying like, you need to tell her. And so I was just like, oh God, this might be it. Is she dead? I got in the car with my cousins because my great grandma lived right across the street from my middle school. Tabor City is small, y'all. Right there, I get in the car with my cousins. I think Aunt Frances in the car, Denise. I can't really remember everybody. Like I said, it's kind of foggy. I kept asking everybody in the car, like, is mama dead? Is she dead? Is she dead? And nobody would really say nothing, but everybody crying. So I called my brother. When my brother answered the phone, he like boohoo crying. So I already know at this point, like, she's really gone. The crazy thing is, y'all want to know the emotion that I felt the moment I found out my mom was really dead? It wasn't sadness. It wasn't grief. It was relief. I know that sounds crazy, but I felt relief because every day for years, I felt like the day was going to be the day. Imagine every single day of your life, you're wondering, is today going to be the day my mom dies? Is today, every time she cough up some blood or every time she do something, I'm thinking like, oh God, she about to die. So when she died, I felt so relieved because that was just such a big worry to carry around as a child. And I was thinking in my head, like, how am I going to live life like without both parents? God has just been good to me over the years, y'all. Mentally, that's how I'm okay. So after when my mom died, after that day, I just pretty much tried to block it out. I went to stay with my auntie, and like I said, life just kind of moved on. I swept the grief under the rug. I was always still the life of the party, very much still funny. After that, when my mom died, I would never forget the next day, that's when they're starting to plan the funeral, having the setting up, sorry. So I went to school the next day. I will never forget that day walking into school. All the teachers, everybody was giving me a hug. Mind you, it was the last day of school because she died on June 7th, and I think the last day of school that year was June 8th. Shout out to Miss Connor because I sat in her classroom all day long, and shout out to my girl India because rest in peace. India sat with me all day long in Miss Connor's class. I didn't really want to interact with that many people, but I had to be. I didn't want to be at home while they were planning my mom's funeral. So anyways, pretty much since then, like I said, I swept the grief under the rug. I would cry to myself. I never really made a big deal about it to others, but so many things transpired over the time frame from losing my dad to then losing my mom. Now as an adult, went through elementary, middle, high, college without my parents. Like, losing both of my parents at such an early age in my life really changed the course of my life in every possible way that you can imagine. If you would have asked me at 9 years old, when I was such a happy and just happy and outgoing little girl, if this would be my life at 20, almost 28, I would say absolutely not. There were moments I literally did not think I would make it through. There were moments I felt so alone, like, wow, God would really leave me without a parent. When I lost them, I didn't know what was going to happen, what my life was going to look like. I easily could have became a statistic. I could have not went to school. I could have fell off. I could have been on drugs. I could have been out here selling it. No, but for real, God is so good. I'm just glad that he kept me through all of that. Next episode, I am going to talk about what grief looked like for me at different stages in my life, as far as making it through school, graduating high school, going to college, dating, my faith, all of those things. But for now, I want to give a genuine thank you for just watching me tell my story. I am not the only person who have lost people, but I am trying to take my loss and turn it into something positive to help other people who may be grieving or trying to navigate this new normal in their lives. So again, thank you guys for watching my story, and I hope you'll come back to watch episode 3 so we can dive deeper into what grief looks like on a daily basis. Love you guys.